Okay, I know we're a little bit late. I'll go ahead and start the ad hoc training committee for the Commission on Police Practices at 6:15. We had some minor things that we were going over. Honestly, minor. They're important for training, but some minor edits to documents that we were going over. And let me actually see if I can pull that up, and I will share my screen. Darlene had made. Show my screen right now. She had made a master document, which we made some minor, or I made some minor edits to. Oh, there we go. I think there we go. So what I had done. There we go. So some of these things formatting's a little bit weird. So a lot of these are already kind of taken care of. So like section 1, these are items that go out in the agendas. What I had added, what we talked about, was kind of adding an objective and a purpose to all these little components.
Brandon,
Yep.
sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know Commissioner Larkin is having trouble logging on the Zoom, but he is on the phone with me, so he'll be joining the meeting through my phone.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect. So what I had done here, and obviously this was kind of my first pass, and I wanted to get everyone who's on this committee to kind of chime in, and we can obviously make edits. Anyone can go into the Google Doc and make your revisions if you'd like. So what I had tried to do was really kind of this little block here for each of these categories of what the objective is and then what the purpose of those are. And again, just my initial thoughts. So obviously I'm excited to have you guys kind of chime in, make some revisions, changes, disagree with me if you'd like. So really kind of what we tried to do, and Darlene, since you had created this, if I misspeak or I mischaracterize what you did, please join in. What we tried to do is kind of categorize everything based on what's already in the agendas of all the different components, but we wanted to try to clarify it a little bit, because one of the things that Darlene had pointed out is we actually have, because we have to break up some of the training sessions into 2 blocks, so we can have commissioners that join the meetings, but we don't have quorum issues. We broke that out into multiple dates. So rather than having those be multiple component numbers, just have it as one kind of component of here's what the core training piece is. And then we'd have the 2 different dates that are in there. So that comes up a little bit later. But some of these things like here for the SDPD overview, kind of how things work, what officers are supposed to do. A lot of this kind of is kind of gone into different categories and things we've already done. Oh, sorry. The other thing is she also asked some questions here as well. And it actually looks like the formatting when I put it up went funky, but this one here, I think we kind of already answered this in the past, but one of the questions that Darlene had was why are badges necessary? This is kind of for the tour of the facilities we got when we all got our IDs. Part of that is when we get the opportunity to do ride-alongs, it's helpful for us to be able to have those. Technically, if you're in secure facilities, we need to have those IDs. Chances are most of us won't be in secure facilities, whether the police department headquarters or the substations, with a lot of frequency. But one of the other benefits of those IDs is that if we go to City Hall, say for example, I mean, again, most of us aren't going to do that, but if you're part of the cabinet, so like the chair, first or second vice chairs, and you have to go to City Hall to either meet with the city council members, or you have to go speak at one of the city council meetings, if you have that ID, as an employee, essentially you get to kind of bypass all that extra security, which is a little bit helpful. And then these are the items we were talking about where we'd have multiple dates if there is more than one session.
So Brandon, I don't know if you want to talk about these questions now or you want to go through the whole thing.
But let's go over the questions now.
Because I'm I'm just trying to think about optics, but the cabinet has things that we don't have. So
Yep.
if they're the ones that needs the badges, maybe it's not appropriate for all of us to have badges. You know what I mean? Just given the input that we've gotten from the community, and maybe you say it in your purpose and objective of this component, articulating, why we need them. I think is a good idea.
Okay.
If we do need them, you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yasmin, go ahead.
Yeah, Darlene, one thing that might be helpful to what you're saying, I think that would probably touch base on both. Brandon, for our interns, as like whether they're volunteer or interns, they receive a San Diego City badge, which also allows them to go through, like you're saying, security in the building, if they're presenting in City Hall, etc. Is that an option that, Darlene, you feel like the community might be more comfortable with instead of SDPD badges?
Right, I don't need to dictate this. I'm just trying to raise the point so that we can decide what is appropriate. But I'm reacting to the San Diegans for Justice letter, and I just want to make sure that we're being purposeful about the things that we're doing.
I mean, I think, my personal opinion, I think part of that is what we want to bring to the full commission, to get the full commission to be able to chime in on their thoughts. I'm a little hesitant for us just to kind of dictate that. I want the full commission to be able to speak about that. But I think to your point, it's important for them to understand, why that might be helpful. I mean, again, I think for ride-alongs, it's helpful, but I mean, would the city ID be as equally as helpful? Yeah, probably.
I don't think, why do you need it for a ride along or for even a city ID? Why do you need,
Well,
citizens can do ride alongs?
yes, but we're kind of this weird mix because yes, we're citizens, but we're essentially unpaid city employees. So it's a little bit different for us. So we also get access to things that if you were just a standard, everyday Joe citizen, that you would not have access to during a ride along. So it's a little bit different. So for example, we get to be part of kind of the roll call and lineup process, which my understanding is most, if you're just the average ride along person, you don't get to do that. So we do have some access that average people don't have. And I think just historically, that's why we've had those. Anecdotally, I'll just say the very first ride along I ever did like 8 years ago, it turned out to be there's a DUI and another officer came flying up and didn't realize I was a ride along and basically screamed at me with some profanity and told me to get on the sidewalk. So I think having some kind of identification as to who we are is helpful, just so they know that, we're not just some random bystander that's just watching something devolve, but it is something for
I think
us to discuss.
we also need to have a conversation about if ride-alongs are appropriate, right? And if having this additional access, I mean, it sounds fascinating to me, but like the appropriateness, and I don't know what some of the other committee members,
Well,
I would be eager to hear what you all think.
well, I think it's a necessary part of our looking at a different lens. I think that when I was a SART nurse, a sexual assault response team nurse, we were independent also, but we were offered ride-alongs also. And of course, we had our own badge because of the employer. But I think that I agree with Brandon's comments about, I think that we're a little bit more than just the regular citizen that rides along. And I don't have anything against not having appropriate badge of some kind, whether it's a city or PD, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm not sure what the letter was about, but I can read it carefully and maybe address some of those points later on. And that's all I have to say.
I'd have to double check the letter. I don't think the letter itself raised issues about getting badges and things like that. I think their whole point overall was, they want us to be independent. And I think,
well, yeah, I
that
mean, I get it.
yeah,
I get
But
it that, yeah. I just don't know why there's so much opposition. I mean, we have to learn both sides of the issues. I mean, I joined this committee to be objective, and independent is also part of it too. But I get this feeling like there's some kind of, I don't know, kind of a funky feeling. I can't explain it right now. Maybe if I have time to think about it, I'll identify it.
Yeah, and I think part of it, just from my legacy time, I think part of it too is there's a lot of information that we as commissioners will get that the general public can't know. And I get that that's a frustrating thing where if we just tell the community members, trust us, we're doing the right thing, everyone wants to trust and validate that we're doing the right thing. And unfortunately, kind of in the line of work that we're doing, we can't give them access to the kinds of documents that we have. But I mean, I think also on the independence issue, I mean, theoretically, it means we're independent from everybody, you know, including Standings for Justice. I mean, we need to be able to drive our own, you know, thought process. We need to look at what we have, you know, get community feedback and input, and then we need to make our decisions based on what we think is best for the commission going forward. You know, I personally think ride-alongs are helpful. I know years and years ago when I first started on the CRB, we had some people that were going, you know, trying to go almost every month. I think that's too much. I think, you know, 2 to 3 times a year, I think it's probably fair. I think especially for the ride-alongs, what I had always recommended to people is do a ride-along in the division that you live in first, because you're most likely familiar with that area. And so I think it's an easy way to kind of understand what's going on. And then I personally chose to go to divisions that tended to have the highest number of complaints, because I thought it was important to kind of see how policing is happening in those areas where we see a lot of the complaints coming in. And then there's, you know, other options we have, and we've talked about this in the past. You can do a sit along with the dispatch teams to kind of see how they take calls, how they dispatch out the police officers. But a lot of that's going to be, I think, up to each individual commissioner to decide what they want to do. But I mean, to Darlene's point on whether or not we should do them, I mean, I think once we talk about the bylaws, I mean, that's probably where that'll come in, because I know the bylaws do touch base on that currently, but that's also kind of the other committee that spoke about that.
And I also thought that it was very helpful for us to go to do those tours at the PD at headquarters. And if they're asking us to have a ID, I don't see anything wrong about that, because I'd like to go do another tour, learn more about the dispatch center, you know, because it affects my community also, and also for all of us. I mean, it's good to learn about what they do. And if they're asking us to just have a simple ID, I'm not against that at all.
Yeah. I think I heard Dwayne start to say something, and then Yasmin, you had your hand up, and I want to make sure, I just saw that. I want to make sure I get to you. So then Yasmin first, and then let's go to Dwayne.
Sorry, I can usually wait until commissioners go, by the way. So Commissioner Dwayne can go ahead and then I'll comment.
Okay, yeah. I mean, in regards to the badges, I mean, I don't think there's an issue when it comes, at least for me, when it comes to the badges. I think we need them. At least I think, as it was stated, I mean, it sets us apart. It differentiates us from just the regular citizen, because we are, non-paid, basically, as he was stating, city employees. But as far as ride-alongs, I don't mind ride-alongs. I'm just wondering, are we talking about making ride-alongs a mandatory thing as far as mandatory training? I just don't think it should be a mandatory thing. I think ride-alongs may be okay, but to be honest with you, I'm not doing a ride-along. And it has nothing to do, I'm not gonna be in the back of a police car, just simple as that. I'm not gonna be in the back of a police. I've been in the back of a police car before, and I shouldn't have been. And I'm not going to be in the back of a police car again unless I commit a crime. But I don't know if it's like, if we go on a ride along, are they going to be on their best behavior? I think it'd be better if we were just out in the community on particular days when we know that they're going to be out in the community making stops. Yeah. I think if we were out there and we go to different stops and just watch, and then now we can observe. Yeah. And just observe. No interference, no anything. Just observe how they handle their stops. And I've been in those situations also, and I've seen where the police have done a great job, and I've seen where police did a terrible job. But I think we can make some evaluations and some understandings better, I think, then than if I'm on a drive-by. Another thing about drive-bys, not drive-bys,
right along.
Yeah, is that there is some bit of danger in that also.
True.
We go to a situation, and just as the police don't know what's going to happen in that situation, we don't know what's going to happen in that situation. And I don't ever want to be in a situation like that. At least if I don't have to be. So
So, and I was gonna say, just to add, when we do ride-alongs, we don't sit in the back. So you actually sit in the passenger seat in the front. But yes, I would agree with you.
okay.
The people that you do a ride along with, I mean, I'm sure the department is not going to put us with, one of their, troublemaker, for lack of a better word, employees. And typically I think they also put us with other officers that are willing to do it. So it's a little bit different. And yeah, I would agree. They probably are officers that probably are going to be on their best behavior. I don't know. I think the bylaws committee is probably looking at, will it be a requirement? I mean, I think in the past, it was technically a requirement. If we ever had a commissioner that for some reason chose not to, I think we kind of on a case by case basis would basically excuse them from that requirement. If they, for whatever reason, if they just chose not to do it, and I would assume we'd probably do the same thing, but that would probably be up for the executive director and the chair to chime in on that.
I don't need it to be. I can continue to be impartial, unbiased, and I don't need to drive. I don't need to ride along.
Yasmin, did you want to chime in? Oh, actually, Lupe, I think I heard you first, and then
No, it's okay. Hey, let Yasmin. I can go after her.
Actually, Commissioner Larkin is on hold, so he can go first and then I can chime in. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Good, thank you. I want to weigh in on the side of the badge because of a type of situation that I get involved with. First off, I absolutely believe that whatever it is that lets us get to how the police are doing, what they're doing, the trainings, we need to absolutely understand their side of it, in the interest of being fair, which is what the committee is all about. I'm for any training and all training that we can get that shows us where they are coming from. And then on the other side, we're seeing on the streets that is something that's different. What I run into is I do a lot of outreach work, and part of that outreach work is as Commissioner Dwayne said, what if you're down there observing? And I'm down observing from time to time the things that are going on, and particularly with the homeless, and the attitude is, and the things that they do, they are worth recording. And the experience that I have is a highly negative experience with the police department. And you have a badge or a designation that says to that police officer, hey, I'm with the commission. You're not going to push me off. There's nothing that you can do about this. I am an observer of what's going on here, because they intimidate, they force, they won't touch you, they will arrest you. But it's incredibly intimidating. And isn't that really what we're after, is to try to stop? This is not the terrible cases that we are going to be reviewing, but we are here to stop that kind of behavior, that kind of they say everything is okay, and it's not. So I fall in favor of, we have some kind of a designation. If it's a badge, fine. If it's a color coded piece of paper, I don't care. Something that says that, wait a minute, you can't push me around like this. I am here as an observer, and because of this, what do you call it? This thing that I'm carrying says that, you have to kind of leave me alone. I'm not interfering with anything, etc. I really believe that we can get to a lot of the truth of what's going on with that kind of methodology. So I'm definitely going to fall in favor of some kind of a designation that allows me to go out and not have them, push us around. I hope I said that right. And I'm trying to be fair with it. Whatever it is that they're doing wrong or right, I would like to quantify. And I think just going out as a citizen, we all know that we get pushed around. But to have something that gives us some kind of a protection against that. And the same thing with the ride-alongs. Yeah, they're going to be on their best behavior. Do we have any way to to deter or to ask them that, hey, I would like to do a ride along as you're doing a street sweep.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not they allow us to do it is another story, but I mean, we can ask to be part of, neighborhood policing. So for example, I did one, I think it was actually during COVID, where they were doing like the homeless outreach efforts. So that was, an interesting experience, but I mean, yeah, you can ask for that. I mean, I think if they're doing, like encampment clear outs, I mean, my guess is they probably wouldn't want us to be there, but I haven't even asked, so I don't know. But yeah, the other thing is, I think to what Dwayne's point was, I also did with Layla before she was on the commission, she invited us to sit down with them and just kind of watch to see what happens in the neighborhood. And I did that as well. So I think it is important to, if we're going to do, ride-alongs with the department, I think it's also important for us to get the experience of, community members as well. And I think I sat with Layla for like 4 hours. And it was, I mean, granted, of course, when I was out there, very little happened, but I mean, it's kind of, it's still an important perspective. And, back then she was asking me a lot of questions about how the commission worked, and I was able to ask her a lot of questions. And I think also for the ride along with the police officers, that's also one of the benefits, is it gives us a chance to, if you're sitting with them for hours, to ask them questions of what do you like? What don't you like? What is the biggest problem you see? And, things like that. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I wanted to chime in a little bit on what we can do as like a department / staff to support with identification. And Brandon, you already know this because I reached out to you, but one thing we were looking into is creating official shirts that have a logo for the department, the commission specifically, and creating little I don't know what they're called, like name badges that are the magnetic ones that you can just attach to your clothes. So maybe that would be helpful to what you're saying, Commissioner Larkin. Like if you're out observing on your own, that could be an identification. And that could be replacement to both a city badge and like a police badge, or it can be in addition to whatever you all really think is best. But that is something that I can work on in order, probably in the new year we can have them ready.
So I'm going to put down the discussion just about badges as one of the topics to bring up for the whole commission to chime in on, because I think obviously it's an important thing for everyone to share their thoughts and feedback. Lupe, I see your hand up, and I wasn't sure if that was before or after we were talking about this.
No, it's okay. No, I was just going to agree with everyone else. I'm really, looking at both many options, it's what Yasmin was talking about right now. And it's important to go out in the field. I did poll working for many years, like for 10 years, and I used to watch poll workers or poll watchers come in. And, they didn't interfere with any of the voting process or anything. And I thought that was pretty cool that they were there watching, to make sure that everything was in place, that we poll workers were doing our job. So I think that, it made us be better actually when we knew that poll watchers were watching us. So I think that going out and doing field work is so important. And I agree with Commissioner Larkin that this is one way that we understand the whole dynamics of what happens out in the field. And yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Since I know we're getting kind of close to our time of 7, I wanted to kind of go through some of the other things. Let me share my screen again.
While you're doing that, Brendan, my intention in originally creating this document is that we could answer my questions on there and tighten it up so that, like, at the very beginning, I have overall potential experts to consult on actually drafting what the training is. Maybe that's inappropriate and we can delete that, or, so my idea was we would have this document maybe nice and clean and clear that we could share with the full commission, and everyone could either bless it or change it or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would invite, and I can send out an email to everyone, I would invite all of our committee members here to go in and make notes if we want to on that. I think for this one as potential experts, Jason, I know we're working with on some other things, and I don't know if we're working with any of those other people. Patrick, who used to be a commissioner, I'm not sure what Andrea with Standards for Justice he thought he would be good at, because I think he has the same experience that Doug and I have. So I think rather than always going out to outside parties, I think Patrick would have the same style and the background that I think, well, Charmaine, Doug, and myself, I mean, and Patrick, we're all NACL certified. So, I mean, I think that's kind of the same, but we can look to see what those options are. Some of these things, I think, I mean, I don't know, would you, for this history of oversight of SDPD in San Diego, you had the question, do Standings for Justice have anything else relevant to add? Do you want to reach out to them and see if they want to chime in on anything to add to that?
I can't. The only reason I put that there is because in the very original outline for the training academy that the interim commission or staff or somebody put together, they had the San Diegans for Justice doing that presentation instead of Commissioner Case. So that's the only reason I asked that question.
Okay.
Maybe it's not relevant.
Yeah. Yasmin, go ahead. And I was gonna say, we're a small group, and if you guys want, you can just chime in rather than raising hands.
Okay. I just wanted to chime in. I'm happy to reach out to San Diegans for Justice and get more clarity on every recommendation on what specifically they think this person would be best for. And Darlene, the history of oversight, that's correct. At the beginning, Charmaine did have San Diegans for Justice as well as Commissioner Case as the folks that would go over that. I think that might have been because of San Diegans for Justice, like their part in writing Measure B and bringing it forward to the city, etc. So maybe from that historical piece of the community end, as well as like the commissioner's end as well. But I'm happy to check in with San Diegans for Justice and get more clarity on these questions.
I can reach out to her too. I know in some of the meetings she got up and she said that the training was unacceptable, but she never really said what was unacceptable. So I can try to find out from her, you know, what specifically some of her concerns might have been. I think, I mean, and I'll report back after I have a conversation with her. I suspect her what she felt was unacceptable was that I think she felt Doug, Charmaine, and I were just dictating, here's the training that all the new commissioners have. And I think that's where she was going with that, is I think she wanted to make sure that all commissioners had a chance to chime in on what our training was going to be. And I think that's what we're trying to do now. So I think maybe that's been addressed, maybe.
Well, I
But
thought
I'll reach
she
out to her and
was
I'll find out.
clear. I thought she was clear. She said that separation between us and the PD was really important. She said we should not be getting all of our training from the PD. That was number one. She also said that we need to get expertise because many of us, at least in my situation, I've never been a commissioner on police practices before. So I'm not NACL certified, you know, whatever, you know. So she said, draw from the experts in designing your training and designing our whole system, our operating procedures, everything. I thought she was very, very clear.
Well, I mean, I'll be frank. I think part of the issue is I think she's clear that she wants outside resources and she wants people who are NACL certified. But I mean, to be honest, she wants to discount Doug and I, and I think that's inappropriate. But you know, I think we are just as qualified as Patrick is. We're just as qualified as, you know, a lot of these other people who are NACL certified. And I think that's a little disingenuous because when she first brought it to us, she would always say, well, we'd ask her questions like, well, what would you like to see here? And she's like, no, you guys are the experts. And suddenly now she's telling us, no, you're not the experts. You need to go find outside sources. So I think we need to balance that. I think it's important to get outside experts and outside resources where appropriate. But I think also I think as our committee and what the commission's doing, yes, there is some police department training we're getting, but we're also trying to supplement that in other areas. So I think we've addressed all those. And, you know, and I hope, you know, most of the meetings are public. I hope when the public can watch the videos of them, that they hopefully see that, you know, we are trying to be as impartial and fair and balanced as we can be on that. So
right,
I'll reach out to her as well.
And by putting this training academy list together with the objectives and the purposes, I think that's really going to be helpful in that regard. So I'm glad we're doing this.
Actually, give me one second. I see,
Yes.
Evie, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Commissioner Larkin would like to chime in.
Yep, please.
I'm sorry, I'm chiming in right in the middle of stuff. The whole idea of you and Doug, and her going after you and Doug, that's, that settles itself internally with us all. And if there was any suspicion or any type of untoward activity, I think all of us that are on just this committee are sensitive enough to point it out and say, hey, that's not right. And if it became a problem like she, inferred, then the entire committee would be all over it. Right now, at this point in time, I think you're doing a good job, a wonderful job actually, of walking us through the stuff that we need to know. And what other resource would we have for that? And you're, from what I can see, being very unbiased about the information that you're giving us because of that reason. And I think that also needs to be brought up maybe in our meeting tomorrow, that, you're very well aware of it. And it's, we are looking at you. You are looking at us to try and get us through this initial learning that we need to do in order to do our job. I just think, that whole, how do I say it? That whole argument right there is something that we would do internally if you were doing it wrong. And for her to point it out, good, point it out. And we're all sitting there with it, and we would point it out. But right now, I want to, give you kudos actually for the direction that you're taking us. Now, we're naive. Maybe you're taking us in a direction that we don't know. But you know what? Even if that's the case, we'll know in a little while, won't we? So it's a non-issue as far as maybe that's too strong. It's an issue that we're paying attention to, and it will work itself out with us. Thank her for bringing it up, but let's drop it and move on from there. We've got work to do.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think it's something that I think we will always be sensitive and aware of. And I have no doubt that all of the other commissioners, if Doug or I were to start to push too hard on one side, I'm sure we would be called on it. So I see, Evie, you have your hand up. I'll let you talk for a minute, and then I want to try to get to some of the other topics. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I didn't know if it would be appropriate or not, but I've been working with Women Occupy and know a lot about the justice group, which I was working with for a while. But they're only one group from the community, and they've given you some suggestions. I think the other groups may want to also do that. The biggest concern is that the group can make any decisions about operating as they would like, and that it not be tainted by the other group that has not been working as independently and had to work with the police. So, I mean, that's my biggest fear, is that it just sort of, well, we did this worked, this is how we changed it. So, here it is. So I'm really glad to see you questioning it a lot. I had made some suggestions to Yasmin. She's been very open to this. I don't see it on there. One of them is Ron Stamper, who was with the San Diego Police Department for 30 years and ended up leaving it and becoming the head of Seattle as a very progressive Seattle head of the department. He would give you an idea of what the culture is like in a police department, and the San Diego one in particular, which has not changed over the many years of our 2 or 3 different heads of police that have been here since I've been here in the early 2000s. So I'm just cautioning not to get pulled in to have to think or look at the way it had been done, because it had to be done that way because it was very involved with the police. The AI was in control. And
I don't know. I mean, I have to correct you there. I don't think IA was always in control. There was a previous time where they dictated a lot of the terms, and that has changed. But I mean, a lot of that has also changed partially because of Measure B and things like that. But you know, the one concern I have with your comment is when you're talking about trying to change the culture, I think that's a little beyond what we
I
can
don't
do
think
as
you
a commission.
tried. You just had to work with it.
Yeah.
You had to do what you were doing, and as you tried to transition, you did try to make a lot of transitions. But the fact is that you did have to work under very different circumstances. And now you're doing most of the talking. The group isn't sort of sitting and thinking of what would we really like to know and do. There are ways that it's going to be impacted by that kind of stuff. You've got enough written things, let people look at them and decide whether they like them or don't like them. I mean, you're not really letting the group make the decision because you can't with all
Well,
your.
actually, wait, let me stop you there though. I want to clarify that because I don't think that's accurate. We've tried to make this as open for everybody as possible. In fact, the majority of this document was not done by me. Darlene actually took the lead on drafting this up, asking a lot of those questions. So we've tried to make it as collaborative as we can be. And like I said, I think if you have watched any of our meetings, we are a very headstrong group of commissioners. And I think that if there's any commissioner that thought things were going in a path that they didn't like, they're going to speak up. And I have no doubt of that. So yeah, I'm leading this meeting just because I'm the chair of this specific, you know, ad hoc committee. But, you know, I've tried to make sure it's very clear that I'm opening this up to anyone to speak whatever they want. If you want to add stuff, great. I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible. So, you know, I get your concern. And like I said, we're very aware of it. We're very aware of the optics, but I'm not trying to drive this solely. I'm trying to get everyone's feedback and input. And so that's where we're trying to move forward with. So I get your point. And I get your concern. I mean, we've talked about this in the past at meetings, but I do think we're trying to show that we are walking the walk and we're talking the talk. So, I mean, the only thing I can do is say, stay tuned and see how it goes when it comes to the full commission, because as I said, you know, we're trying to make sure everyone has a voice, everyone can speak their mind, they can raise concerns, you know, we can all address it, and then we'll eventually vote on what we're going to do, and, you know, majority rules on that one.
Thanks for letting me make my comment. Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
Of course.
thank you, Evie. Can I just chime in real quick?
Please.
Evie really struck something very important to me of why I joined this commission. I would like to see, and I see this as a very important point in this commission is, or role in this commission, is to make recommendations for change. That was the reason I joined, is to be part of that change. I see the attitudes of police officers, the culture. I mean, I've seen so many, you know, experiences as being a woman of color in my community, and also growing up in a small town in Illinois and having my house where I grew up as a child, trying, you know, without a warrant, just because we were Mexican. I mean, I know what the culture of police officers can be, and I know about the culture of police here in San Diego because of personal experiences. So yeah, that was one of the reasons why I joined the commission, because I thought maybe we could make recommendations for, you know, which is probably going to be a mountain full. I mean, I don't think we could be able to do that in 1 or 2 or 3 years, but at least we can be able to make recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's part of why I joined too. I mean, I think all of us did because
I think all of us did.
Yeah.
I think we're all in the same boat, and I appreciate Evie's comments about the what is that called, the blue line? Is that correct?
thin blue line, yeah.
Yeah. Believe me, I grew up in an era in the 60s and 70s in a small town in Illinois where we were the only Mexican family in a neighborhood and city that was all white police officers, and it was quite an experience, and I still feel traumatized about that, believe it or not. But I'm trying to.
Oh, you just muted yourself.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll let you guys be. Never mind. Bye.
No, it's important feedback. And I think, again, I think all of us joined because we saw something that we thought could be done differently and done better. And that's why we're volunteering our time on it.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. And I appreciate Evie's comments, because, you know, my voice is breaking up a little bit because, you know, it does create a traumatic experience growing up in a neighborhood and seeing your brothers, you know, being
Yeah.
arrested for no reason at all and a gun pointed at their head, I mean, anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
like you said very, very eloquently, I mean, we're all here, I think, for the same reason, is to try to make, policing better, more fair for everyone in San Diego. So I know we're getting really close to 7 o'clock. I guess what I would do, I would recommend, can any of the commissioners or the committee members, if you want to go into this document and add anything, what I can also try to do is add a section under here to answer some of the questions. So like Darlene had, let me go back down to where there's a question, like, for example, like, why are badges necessary? I can put a little more information. I did add something very quickly. Where was it? So I did this one, badges facilitate the access to city facilities, but that's something Yasmin had mentioned that we can try to look at some other options. And again, I want to bring that to the full commission. I will talk to the chair, Chair Tran, and see when we can actually get this docketed for our full commission meeting for us to discuss some of these questions. Some of these dates, I think. Yep.
Brandon, do you want us as a subcommittee to answer these questions and then take it to the full commission? Don't you think we need to
think so.
start with something?
Absolutely. That's
Because
what I'm saying
otherwise
is,
we haven't accomplished anything.
and that's what I was saying is, if each of us can go in here and we can add any comments or, answers or what we think the answers to some of these questions are. Yeah, I would like to have, here's what our proposal is when we take that to the full commission. Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
And my other question is, like, I have a column there. It's like part of the NACOL guidelines or not. Is that even important? I don't know. I was just trying to put everything in there of the
Yeah.
information that we've been given so far. I'm not saying that having it be a NACOL guideline makes it important. And I highlighted the stuff that I thought was maybe important before we did case review. I don't know if that's true. Like, this is all just my basic putting it out there to get us started.
I mean, I personally think NACOL kind of gives it more credibility. I mean, if we're doing something because NACOL recommends it, I think it makes it a stronger thing for us to be training on. But again, I mean, I would invite the whole commission to chime in. I would assume many people probably feel the same way. But I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of everybody. I think NACOL guidelines agreeing with what we're trying to do on training, I think it's a solid, it shows we're doing the right thing. But I think just because NACOL may not specifically call it out, I mean, I think, for example, here we had something from like, the ACLU and we got that training. I mean, NACOL didn't specifically say that's something that's good, but I think that was an important thing for us in the community to see. So I guess what we can do is everyone comfortable with going into this document? We can answer some of the questions. Maybe what we do is we type in, our name first, and then we type in what our answer is. Now we can kind of see who says what or who thought what. That might be an easy way to do it. And then, Darlene, since you took the lead on drafting this, maybe you and I can work on compiling all that so we can bring that back to the full commission.
Or is it more efficient at this meeting, having the agenda be answer number 1, go to the next one, and just having a quick discussion on each item? I don't know if it's that helpful to have, all of us putting, I don't know. I don't know what the best way is.
I'm open to anything. I mean, I'm thinking if all of us can chime in and say, here's what we believe our answers are. And then when we have the meeting, as you're saying, and then we can kind of discuss, do we want to change that? Do we agree with that? I think that might be a little bit easier. That way everyone kind of has a little bit of homework from this meeting to answer those questions. But if you guys feel there's a better way, I'm happy to do that too.
I just want to chime in a little bit. I would recommend, if the direction is that everyone chimes in on the document, I would recommend you give everyone access to comment, not edit, just to make sure that you don't lose the original document by mistake.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we can do that. Well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll add that later.
I can support with that.
Okay. Does that sound like, does it sound good to everybody? Does anyone have concerns? I'm hearing silence. I'm guessing that means we're okay.
I'm wondering, I think we need to have a timeline. So we meet again a week from today, correct?
Correct.
So
Sorry,
then we need
really
to have
quick.
a date.
Just Nate.
When are we presenting this? That's all I want to know.
Commissioner Larkin wants more clarity on when we're presenting, which I think Brandon, you're still figuring out. And I just want to
Yeah,
name
right here,
that.
right here.
Yeah, I need to confirm with Chair Tran when she wants to put this on the docket for the full commission. So I don't know that yet. I'll reach out to her and see when we can do that.
But we also need to figure out how much time we need. So if she says, oh, we need it for X meeting and we're not going to be ready, we need to think that through.
How about this? So what I'll do is I will work with Darlene. We'll send out the link so everyone can edit. We'll make this so people can make comments to their to these questions, and then we can try to consolidate everything, hopefully
Yeah.
at the next meeting. Does
Oh,
that work? I see a thumbs up. I'm gonna assume that means yes for everybody. And then what we can do
Commissioner
is,
Larkin is good with that.
okay, perfect. And I was gonna say, I think if we do it that way, at our next meeting, hopefully we can actually be pretty productive. And to Darlene's point is we can actually have one answer for every one of those questions. And then we can bring that to the full commission, in the next week or two after we have our meeting next Monday.
What I would say is what we're going to present is not the questions anymore, just what we're recommending.
Okay,
And then as far as Yasmin, I think it would be great if you could reach out to and get input from Evie and San Diego Justice or anybody else that you think would want to chime in on this so we can have something that already addresses the issues. And I can't remember, did I add everything, Yasmin, that you had already suggested to have us include in training?
Not everything, but I also haven't given you access to everything. So as Evie actually was speaking, I moved everything to the committee's, or I started moving things to the committee's folder. And there's some things that are not movable, like move-in friendly. It was like a proposal sent to my email with a
Okay.
code. So I'm gonna try and compile these things and put them, and then I will let you know through email when that's ready. And then I'm happy. I had conversations with Evie and San Diego for Justice and other members of Women Occupying community members way early on back in March and April. So I'm happy to follow up, share with them what you all compiled as a first draft, and then get more specific detail input, because when I first asked, it was very generic when I asked. So I'm happy to do that, Darlene. Commissioner Momat. And just
Darlene's
naming,
fine. Darlene's good.
just naming, I will be attending the NACO conference next week. I will try to still be a part of the meeting. It will be 9 p.m. I believe, Chicago time. But if not, then I'll have another staff be supporting.
okay. Lupe.
yeah, I want to bring something up that is not related to training, maybe not directly, but when we went on that tour, I had one of the commissioners, I forgot his name already, it's at the tip of my tongue. He did notice that there were Blue Lives Matter flags being displayed in some of the offices that we went on the tour. And I believe that that's pretty inappropriate, Los Angeles.
Was it
basically
Alec?
I believe so. I
Alec
believe
mentioned
so.
it to me. He was on the case review team, and he mentioned that
Yeah.
separately. So it might have been Alec.
Yeah, so I'm really concerned about that because, in other cities, big cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, they have banned those Blue Lives Matter flags at their PD stations. So I believe that we should talk about that maybe at the commission meeting tomorrow. I that really disturbs me. I don't know. I don't know about everybody else, but that's just me. Anyway.
Yeah, I know, and I'm trying to find it. That's why I stopped sharing my screen. I'm trying to find the policy. I'm not sure, because I know there was a change in policy that, for example, jewelry and things like that can't have the blue line on it. I think years ago, well, not years ago, well, probably 2 years ago, there was a case where I think you had officers that had added stickers and things like that to their gun or their belts or they're wearing rings or things like that that had the blue line. And I think they did, I believe they officially changed the policy to not be able to do that. But I'm trying to find it. I don't think we'll be able to discuss in the meeting tomorrow because it's not in the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay, cool.
But
Yeah,
we
I-
could bring it up as a non-agenda public
Yeah.
comment and just say, hey, we noticed this,
Mhm.
and leave it at
Yeah.
that, but we won't be able to debate it because it wasn't publicly noticed.
Right. Yeah, I just was too busy looking at, asking questions,
Yeah.
that I didn't even notice that, it's like, okay. And, San Diego is the last bastion of change. I hate to say this, but, I was living in Chicago for many years. And when I came here, it was pretty much of a culture shock for me. And that's all I have to say, anyway.
All right. I know we're just past the 7 o'clock hour, so I will send out that email. As I said, I'll turn this document so it's you can make comments. You just kind of click on it, and then on the side you can add your comments to answers to those questions. And then for next Monday, I think the objective is going to be we'll go through, we'll finalize that, and then to Darlene's point, we'll then present what our recommendation is to the full commission, and then open that up to obviously commissioner comments and then public feedback as well. I think we're
Um,
all.
And Yasmin, would you be able to give us the input that you collect before next week's meeting, or do you need longer?
I will, tomorrow is my last day working before next Monday. But I think I can do that over the weekend because I'm actually working over the weekend.
Well, I don't want to overburden you. I want to be
No.
realistic.
I'm gonna be working Sunday because the conference starts Sunday. So let's say yes. And if I can't, I will let you know, but I will aim to have everything ready for you by Monday, yes. But it might not be until the meeting. Is that okay?
I mean,
Like not earlier, not before the meeting.
My other idea is if we skip next week and we have 2 weeks, but that might not help you because you're going to be at NACOL the whole week.
I think NACOL ends on, is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday,
Yeah.
but then that's the week of Thanksgiving, the week after. So I'm not sure if I don't know if you all decided you'll be meeting that week.
Well, how about this? In my email out, I will poll everyone to see what days work, and then we'll try to figure out a day that works for the most people. Next dates.
From my end, I will get you the information by next Monday because I don't want you all to have to wait for that. So I'll just say that, yeah, I'll make it work from my end.
All right, perfect, guys. Well, thank you very much, and have a good rest of your evening.
Okie doke. All right. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.